In a small coastal fishing village where the waves lapped day and night and the salty smell of the sea permeated every corner, a mother and her daughter lived in a small, dilapidated wooden house. Lyly, a single mother in her 30s, was a resilient and loving woman. Her life had not always been easy, but she always faced the difficulties with a warm smile and a heart full of hope. She had a little daughter named Anna, a 6-year-old with big, round eyes that shone like stars, and an innocent smile that made anyone who saw her feel their hearts soften. Lyly was not a native of this fishing village. She used to live in a big city, where she had a stable job and a promising future. But life did not always go according to plan. After divorcing her husband, she decided to leave the city, taking her little daughter to the countryside to start over. She believed that this place, amidst wild nature and honest people, would be the best place to raise Anna. Every day, Lyly worked as a fisherman and processed seafood. The work was hard, but she never complained. Every early morning, before dawn, she went to the sea with the men in the village to harvest shrimp and fish. Her small hands were calloused from the hard work, but she always felt happy because she knew that she was doing everything to bring a better life to Anna. Anna, meanwhile, was a girl full of energy and joy. Even though the life of the mother and daughter was not abundant, she never complained. Anna loved life in the fishing village, where she could run around on the long, sandy beaches, collect colorful seashells, and listen to fairy tales from the old fishermen. She especially loved hearing about sea legends, about mermaids and mysterious treasures buried at the bottom of the ocean. However, life was not always peaceful. The wooden house, where mother and daughter lived, located close to the coast, often had to withstand big storms from the ocean. On rainy nights, Lyly often held Anna tightly in her arms, comforting her with gentle whispers so that she would not feel afraid. The finances of mother and daughter were always a big problem. Despite working hard, the income from fishing was not enough for Lyly to save much. Whenever Anna needed new books or clothes, she had to calculate very carefully. But no matter how difficult it was, Lyly always tried her best so that her daughter would not feel deprived. She often sewed clothes for Anna herself and made handmade toys from wood or seashells for her to play with. Anna loved her mother very much. She understood that her mother had sacrificed a lot for her to have a better life. Even though she was young, Anna learned how to help her mother with small tasks, such as picking up seashells, drying nets, or tidying up the small house. She always wanted to please her mother, and every time she saw her mother smile, Anna felt like she had just discovered a precious treasure. Their life passed in such simplicity, but full of love, until one day, Anna's sudden headaches turned everything upside down. At first, she only vaguely complained that her head hurt every time she ran and jumped too much. Lyly thought it was just a sign of fatigue or a mild cold, but the pain did not stop, but became more and more serious. Lyly began to worry when she saw her daughter's bright eyes gradually become dim. Anna no longer ran and played like before. Instead, she often sat still with her head in her hands, her face showing signs of fatigue. This made Lyly extremely heartbroken. She decided to take Anna to the small medical station in the village for a checkup, but all she received were head shakes and vague advice. No one could determine what was happening to her. From then on, Lyly could not work with peace of mind. She spent many sleepless nights thinking about what to do next. Meanwhile, Anna's condition became worse. The headaches became more frequent, making it impossible for her to sleep at night. Lyly looked at her daughter and felt helpless. The child she loved the most in the world was suffering from pain that she could not soothe, and that broke her heart. In the following days, Lyly decided to sell some of the most precious things in the house, including the silver bracelet that her mother had left as a family heirloom. She saved every penny and was determined to take Anna to the city for medical treatment. In her heart, Lyly carried a faint hope that the doctors there would find a way to cure her daughter. But deep down, she also knew that the road ahead would be very difficult. The journey from the small fishing village to the city was a big challenge for Lyly and Anna. Early in the morning, Lyly packed her luggage and brought a few sets of clothes and the little money she had saved after many months of hard work. She knew that taking Anna to the city for medical treatment was a necessary decision, despite the many difficulties she faced. They started with a long bus ride through bumpy and dusty roads. On the bus, Anna leaned her head on her mother's shoulder, her face pale and tired. Lyly kept stroking her daughter's soft hair, whispering words of comfort to ease her anxiety. But in her heart, Lyly carried an unspoken fear. She was worried that Anna's condition might be more serious than she thought. When she arrived in the city, the atmosphere was completely different. The loud car horns and the hustle and bustle of people made Lyly feel overwhelmed. She had never been used to such a crowded and noisy place. Holding Anna's hand, she quickly went to the city's largest hospital, following the directions she had received from a friend. It was a modern high-rise building, always crowded with people coming and going. They had to wait for hours for their turn to be examined. During that time, Anna seemed to have no more energy to talk, just sitting still on the chair, occasionally leaning on her mother to rest. Lyly looked at her daughter and couldn't hold back her tears. But she tried to stay calm so as not to make Anna worry more. When they were finally called in, the doctor who took over Anna's case was a middle-aged man with a stern face. After listening to Lyly describe Anna's symptoms, he ordered a series of tests and scans. "We need to do a thorough examination to determine the cause," he said, his voice calm but full of responsibility. The wait for the test results was the longest Lyly had ever experienced. She couldn't stop thinking about the worst. Anna sat next to her mother, her eyes half closed from exhaustion. Lyly hugged her daughter tightly, feeling the warmth from her small body as a way to calm her racing heart. Finally, the doctor called them into the room. He placed the test results on the table, his eyes filled with contemplation. "We found the cause," and he began, his voice serious but not lacking in empathy. "Anna has a brain tumor." The words fell like a thunderclap in Lily's ears. She looked at the doctor, trying to make sense of what he had just said, but it felt like everything around her had become a blur. "Tumor?" she repeated, her voice choking. The doctor nodded, explaining that Anna's tumor had grown quite large, was in a dangerous position, and needed immediate intervention. "We recommend surgery as soon as possible," he said, but then he continued with a warning that broke Lyly's heart. "The success rate is only about 20%. But Lyly felt like her whole world was collapsing. She didn't know what to do or say. Looking at Anna, she didn't seem to understand what was happening, but her once sparkling eyes were now sad and tired. "How much will the surgery cost?" Lyly asked, her voice trembling. The doctor glanced at a piece of paper on the table before answering. "This is a complicated surgery, and the cost will be very high, around 200,000 USD. That number was like a knife cutting deep into Lily's heart. How could she earn such a large sum of money? She had no assets and no rich relatives to rely on. Everything seemed hopeless. Lyly left the clinic with trembling legs. She sat down on a chair in the hallway, hugged Anna, and sobbed. The people around looked at them with sympathy, but no one could do anything more. Anna said nothing, just buried her head in her mother's chest, her small hand tightly clasping Lyly's as if seeking comfort. In the following days, Lyly tried every way to help her daughter. She contacted old friends, asking them to introduce charities or places that could support medical expenses. She also called the fishing village, telling the neighbors about Anna's condition. Everyone expressed sympathy and contributed a little money to help. But that amount was only enough to buy painkillers and maintain basic treatment in the hospital. Seeing Anna getting weaker and weaker, Lyly felt like she was being pushed to the brink of despair. During the long nights in the hospital room, she often stayed up all night, praying in silence and blaming herself for not being able to protect her daughter. "If you can live with my health," she whispered in Anna's ear, her voice filled with tears. But in the depths of her pain, Lyly still did not give up hope. One day, while sitting by Anna's hospital bed, an old friend came to visit. His friend brought her unexpected news. "Lyly, I heard that the Pope would come to the nearby church to give a blessing. Do you want to try taking Anna there?" Lyly looked at her friend, a small ray of light rising in her heart. "Do you think that could help?" she asked, her voice full of doubt, but also unable to hide a faint hope. Sometimes miracles happen in unexpected places. We can't be sure of anything, but at least you can pray for peace for Anna and for yourself," her friend replied. Lyly thought for a long time after her friend left. That night, the hospital room was so quiet that Lyly could clearly hear the ticking of the wall clock. The pale yellow light shining through the window made Anna's small figure even more fragile. The little girl was sleeping, her breathing soft but weak, like a candle flickering in the wind. Lyly sat by her daughter's bed, holding Anna's small hand tightly, feeling the fragile warmth gradually fading. In her mind, her friend's words rang like a bell, evoking a glimmer of hope and confusion. "Try taking Anna to see the Pope. Who knows? A miracle might happen." Lyly was not a religious person. She believed in more practical things, like daily work and the sweat of earning a living to raise her child. But when she looked at Anna's pale face, her heart felt like it was being squeezed. Anna's time was running out, and Lyly felt helpless, unable to do anything to save her child. "Have I done everything?" That question repeated in her mind over and over again, each time pushing her deeper into torment. Lyly stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the night sky. The bright lights of the city seemed unable to dispel the darkness in her heart. Ever since she learned that Anna was sick, she had prayed every night, though she wasn't sure who she was talking to. "If there is a God, please save my daughter," she whispered through her sobs. It was the prayer of a mother with nothing left to cling to but a fragile belief in miracles. She remembered the days before when Anna was still healthy. She always ran and laughed on the beach, her face as bright as the sun. But now, that smile had faded, replaced by soft moans every time the pain tormented her. "If there was a miracle, I would give everything for Anna to live," Lyly thought. But were miracles real? She wondered. She had heard stories of miracles, but they always happened to other people, never to her or Anna. So why should she believe that this time would be different? Lyly sighed, turning back to look at Anna. That little face was like a sleeping angel, and she realized that even if there was only a small glimmer of hope, she could not give up. The next morning, Lyly decided to follow her friend's advice. She learned more about the event that the Pope would be visiting the church near the hospital. It was a big event, attracting thousands of people from all over. Lyly worried about whether she could take Anna there in her weak health. But every time she thought about doing nothing, her heart was filled with guilt. "Anna, do you want to go meet someone very special?" Lyly asked her daughter when she woke up. Her voice was gentle, but she could not hide her emotion. Anna looked at her mother, her eyes tired but still shining with curiosity. Who is it, Mum? The Pope. He will come to bless people like me. Who knows? Who knows? He can help me feel better. And Lyly said, her voice breaking a little at the end of the sentence. Anna was silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. I want to go, Mum. The decision was made. Lyly began to prepare. She consulted the doctor, asking for permission for Anna to leave the hospital for a few hours. The doctors were concerned about her health, but in response to Lyly's determination, they agreed on the condition that she bring the necessary medicine and medical equipment. That day, Lyly dressed Anna in the most beautiful dress she had brought, a simple white dress that highlighted her innocence. They left the hospital under the curious eyes of other patients and nurses. Some even prayed silently for them, hoping for a miracle to happen. The church where the Pope was visiting was a magnificent structure with soaring domes and colorful stained glass. When Lyly and Anna arrived, the crowd was already packed, jostling for a good spot. Lyly held Anna in her arms, trying to squeeze through the crowd. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, perhaps because the sight of a mother holding a frail baby touched their hearts. When the Pope had appeared, the atmosphere became quiet. He walked slowly through the rows of people, giving blessings and saying prayers. Lyly stood still, looking at the solemn figure of the Pope. An indescribable feeling rose in her heart. This was not only her last hope, but also the deepest plea from a mother's heart. Finally, when the crowd gradually thinned, Lyly and Anna were able to get closer. The Pope saw them, his eyes gentle and full of sympathy. He bent down, placed his hand on Anna's head, and whispered a prayer. Then he kissed her forehead, a simple but meaningful gesture. Lyly felt her tears welling up uncontrollably. No one said anything, but she knew that moment would forever be engraved in her memory. She didn't expect a miracle, but at least she felt lighter, as if part of the burden had been shared. The next morning, after returning from church, the first thing Lyly noticed was that Anna woke up earlier than usual. She was no longer as lethargic as before, her eyes wide open, shining with curiosity and a little surprise. "Mom, I feel better," Anna said in a small but clear voice, like a whisper of a miracle. Lyly was stunned, for a moment not believing her ears. "Does your head still hurt? Do you want to drink water or eat something?" And she asked quickly, both worried and emotional. Anna thought for a moment, and then shook her head. "It doesn't hurt anymore, but I'm hungry." That short sentence was a great hope for Lyly. She immediately called the doctor to check on Anna's condition. The doctors entered the hospital room, unable to hide their surprise when they saw that the girl looked more alert. "We'll do some tests right away," a doctor said, his eyes thoughtful. Anna was taken to the CT and MRI room to assess the condition of the tumor. Lyly stood outside the door of the lab, her hands clasped together, praying non-stop. The waiting time seemed like a century. Finally, the doctor came out, his face unable to hide his surprise. "The results are amazing," he said, his voice still unsteady. "Anna's tumor has significantly reduced in size. We can't explain this." Lyly listened, unable to believe her ears. "Doctor, you mean the tumor has shrunk?" she asked, her voice choking. "That's right. Before, the tumor occupied most of Anna's left brain hemisphere, putting a lot of pressure on the surrounding areas. But now, the tumor has shrunk by about 30%. This is an amazing change in just one night. Medicine has no explanation for this," the doctor replied, his eyes filled with astonishment. Lyly almost collapsed from being so emotional. She did not dare to believe that a miracle could happen, but the immediate results were undeniable. The doctors decided to monitor Anna more closely, performing tests every day for further assessment. In the following days, Anna's condition continued to have positive changes. She began to eat better, no longer needing IV fluids as much as before. Anna's recovery spread quickly in the hospital, becoming a story that was discussed everywhere. A week later, when the doctors re-examined, they discovered that the tumor had decreased by another 20% in size. This not only brought great hope, but also opened up the opportunity to perform surgery to completely remove the tumor. At this time, Lyly's friend, who suggested she go see the Pope, shared the story of the mother and daughter on social media. The post quickly attracted the attention of the community. Words of encouragement, sharing, and even financial support from benefactors began to pour in. Everyone was touched by Lyly's love for Anna and the miracle they had just experienced. "We want to help you and your child," said a philanthropist who visited. "Anna's story is an inspiration to us to believe in love and hope." With the help of the community, Lyly raised enough money to perform Anna's surgery. The days of preparation were filled with anxiety but determination. The doctors decided to perform the surgery next week. Currently, Anna's health indicators have improved significantly, enough for us to consider performing the surgery. With the support from the community, we have all the resources to do this, said the main doctor in a meeting with Lyly. On the day of the surgery, Lyly sat outside the operating room, her heart burning. The ticking of the clock became an obsession, stretching out every second and minute. She prayed non-stop, hoping that the miracle would continue to be with them. After many hours of waiting, the door to the operating room opened. The doctor came out, his face tired but glowing with relief. "The surgery was successful," he said. Lyly burst into tears, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Thank you, doctor. Thank you for saving my child." And she said, her voice choked up. Anna was transferred to the recovery room, where she would continue to be monitored for the next few days. As each day passed, Lyly felt Anna's recovery. She began to talk, smile, and even ask to go out to play when her health allowed. News of Anna's miraculous recovery spread on social media, attracting the attention of many people. The help of benefactors was not only a great source of encouragement, but also a testament to humanity and kindness in the most difficult times. Lyly knew that this journey was not over. Anna needed time to fully recover, but she no longer felt alone or hopeless. She believed that love and faith had brought them through the greatest challenge. And more importantly, she understood that every day with Anna was a precious gift that she would cherish forever.